I'm Minnesota Mike. I appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. This has become somewhat of a tradition over the past couple of years. And this is, I guess, a long tradition, maybe not a long standing one, but playing Alice's Restaurant, the greatest Thanksgiving song of all time. So, without further ado, this is Alice's Restaurant. This song is called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice, the restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant is not the name of the restaurant, that's just the name of the song, and that's why I call the song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. Said you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Now, it all started 2 Thanksgivings ago. It was on Thanksgiving 2 years ago on Thanksgiving when my friend and I went up to visit Alice at the restaurant. But you see, Alice doesn't live in the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant and the bell tower with the husband Ray and Fosh the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And having all that room, seeing as they took out all the pews, they decided that they didn't have to take out the garbage for a long time. So we got up there and we found all the garbage in there, and we decided it would be a friendly gesture to take the garbage down to the dump. So we took a half ton of garbage and put it in the back of a red VW microbus and took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction and headed out toward the city dump. Well, we got there and there was a big sign and a chain across the dump saying closed on Thanksgiving. And we had never heard of a dump being closed on Thanksgiving before, and so with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one until we came to the side of the road, and off the side of the little road there was another 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff there was another pile of garbage. Now, we decided that one big pile of garbage was better than 2 little piles, and rather than bring that one pile up, we decided to throw ours down. And that's what we did, and we drove back to the church and had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat. Went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we got a phone call from Officer Obi. He said, "Kid, we found your name in an envelope at the bottom of the half ton of garbage, and we just wanted to know if you had any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obi, I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under the garbage." And after speaking with Obi for about 45 minutes on the telephone, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter and said that we had to go down and pick up the garbage, and also that we had to go down and speak with him at the police officer's station. So we got in the red VW microbus with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction and headed out toward the police officer's station. Now, friends, there was only one of 2 things that Obi could have done at the police station, and the first is he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely, and we didn't expect it. And the other thing he could have done was bawled us out and told us to never be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which is what we expected. But when we got to the police officer's station, there was a third possibility that we never really expected. And we were arrested and handcuffed, and I said, "Obi, I don't think I can pick up garbage with these handcuffs." And he said, "Shut up, kid, and get in the back of the patrol car." And that's what we did. We sat in the back of the patrol car and we drove to the quote scene of the crime, unquote. And I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this happened here. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers, and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police cars, and there were 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get the newspaper story about it. So they were using up all kinds of cop equipment, and they were hanging around the police officer's station, and they was taking plaster tire tracks, footprints, and dog-smelling prints, and they took 27 8x10 colored glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a photograph on the back of each one paragraph explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us, and took pictures of the approach and the getaway and the northwest corner and the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. So after the ordeal, we went back to jail, and Obi said he was going to put us in the cell. He said, "Kid, I'm going to put you in the cell. I want your wallet and your belt." And I said, "Obi, I can understand wanting my wallet so I don't have any money to spend in the cell, but what do you need my belt for?" And he said, "Kid, we don't want any hangings." And I said, "Obi, did you think I was going to hang myself over some littering?" And he said, "We can't be too careful." And Obi was nice enough because he took the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown, and he took out the toilet paper so I didn't bend the bars and roll out the toilet paper out the window and slide down the roll and have an escape. Obi was just making sure. It was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, you remember Alice? There's a song about Alice. Alice came by with a few nasty words to Obi on the side and bailed us out of jail, and we went back to the church and had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, and didn't get up until the next morning when we had to go to court. And when he went down, we walked in and we sat down, and Obi came in with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and sat down, and men came in and said, "All rise," and we stood up, and Obi stood up with the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures, and the judge walked in and sat down with the seeing eye dog, and he sat down and we sat down, and Obi looked at the seeing eye dog and then at the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and looked at the seeing eye dog, and he began to cry because Obi came to the realization that it was a typical case of American blind justice, and there wasn't nothing he could do about it, and the judge wasn't going to look the other way, and he wasn't going to look the other way, and so we was fined $50 and had to pick up garbage by the side of the road. And in the snow, too. But that's not what I came here to tell you about. I came here to talk about the draft. So they got a building down in New York City, and it's called White Wall Street, where you walk in, get injected, inspected, detected, infected, neglected, and selected. So anyway, I went down to get my physical examination one day, and I walked in and I sat down, and I got good and drunk the night before, so I looked and felt my best when I went in that morning, because I wanted to look like the all-American kid from New York City. Man, I wanted to feel like the all-American kid from New York, and I walked in and I sat down, and I was hung down, brung down, and hung up and all kinds of mean old nasty ugly things, and I walked in and I sat down, and they gave me a piece of paper, and they said, "Kid, see the psychiatrist in room 604. And I went up there and I said, "Shrink, I want to kill. I want to kill. See, I want to see blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth and eat dead bird bodies. I mean, kill, kill, kill." And I started jumping up and down and yelling, "Kill, kill." And he started jumping up and down, and we was both jumping up and down saying, "Kill, kill." And the sergeant came over and pinned a medal on me and sent me down the hall and said, "You're our boy." I didn't feel too good about it. And I proceeded on down the hall to get more injections, inspections, detections, neglections, and all kinds of stuff that they don't doing to me down there. And I was there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and was there for a long time, going through all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things, and I was just having a tough time there, you know, and It was inspecting, injecting every single part of me, and it was leaving no part of me untouched. Proceeded through, and when they finally came to see that last man, I walked in and sat down, and after a whole big thing there, I walked up and I said, "What do you want?" And he said, "Kid, we only got one question. Have you ever been arrested?" So I proceeded to tell him the story of the Alice's Restaurant Massacre with full orchestration and 5-part harmony and stuff like that, and all the phenomenal, and he stopped me right there and he said, "Kid, did you ever go to court?" And I proceeded to tell him the story of the 27 8x10 colored glossy photos with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and he stopped me right there and he said, "Kid, I want you to go in and sit down on that bench that says Group W. Now, kid." And I walked over to the bench there, and there's the Group W where they put you if you may not be moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. And there was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people on the bench there. Mother rapers and father stabbers and father rapers sitting there on the bench next to me. It was mean and nasty and ugly and horrible and crime-type guys sitting on the bench next to me, and the meanest, ugliest one, nastiest one was coming over to me, and he was mean and nasty and horrible and all kinds of things, and he sat down next to me and he said, "Kid, what'd you get?" And I said, "I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage." And he said, what were you arrested for, kid?" And I said, "Littering," and they all moved away from me on the bench there, and the hairy eyeball and all kinds of mean and nasty things, till I said, "And creating a nuisance." And they all came back, shook my hand, and we had a great time on the bench talking about crime and mother stabbing and father raping and all kinds of groovy things that we were talking about on the bench, and everything was fine, and we were smoking cigarettes and all kinds of things, until the sergeant came over and had some paper in his hand and held it up and said, "Kids, this here piece of paper got 47 words, 37 sentences, 58 words, and we want to know details of the crime and any other thing that you got to say pertaining to and about the crime. And I want to know the arresting officer's name and any other kind of thing you got to say." And he talked for 45 minutes, and nobody understood a word that he said, but we had fun filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench there, and I filled out the massacre with the 4-part harmony and wrote it down there just like that, and just like that everything was fine, and I put down the pencil and turned the piece of paper over, and there on the other side, in the middle of the other side, away from everything on the other side, in parentheses and capital letters, and quotated and read the following words: "Kid, have you rehabilitated yourself?" And I went over to the sergeant and said, "Sergeant, you got a lot of damn gall to ask me if I've rehabilitated myself. I mean just that I'm sitting here on the bench. I'm sitting here on the Group W bench because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army and burn women, kids, and houses and villages. And we're going to send your fingerprints off to Washington." Because he said, "Kid, we don't like your kind." And friends, somewhere in Washington, enshrined in some little folder, is a study in black and white of my fingerprints. And the only reason why I'm singing this to you now is because you might know somebody in a similar situation, or you might be in a similar situation. And if your situation like that, then there's only one thing you can do, and walk around at the shrink wherever you are and just say, "Shrink, you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant," and walk out, you know? If it's one person does it, they might think he's really sick and they won't take him again. And if 2 people do it in harmony, they might think they're both crazy and they might not take either of them. And if 3 people do it, you can imagine if 3 people walking in, singing a bar of Alice's Restaurant and walking out, they might think it's an organization. And if can you imagine 50 people a day? I say 50 people a day walking in and singing a bar of Alice's Restaurant and walking out and all friends, and they might think it's a movement. And that's what it is, the Alice's Restaurant anti-massacre movement, and all you gotta do is join in and sing the next time it comes around on the guitar, with feeling. So we'll wait for it to come around in the groove again, and we'll sing it when it does. Here it comes. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back. Just a half a mile from the railroad track. Said you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. That was horrible. If you want to end the war and stuff, you gotta sing it loud. I've been singing this song now for 25 minutes, and I could sing it for another 25 minutes. I'm not proud or tired. So we'll wait till it comes around again, and this time with 4-part harmony and feeling. We're just waiting for it to come around, that's all we're doing. Alright now. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant, excepting Alice. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. I said walk right in, it's around the back. Just a half a mile from the railroad track. Said you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Dun, 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 at Alice's restaurant. All right, and thank you so much for listening. An annual tradition there, playing Alice's Restaurant. I hope you enjoyed it. I am Minnesota Mike. Happy Thanksgiving.